It's Aleya Antoine. You're listening to Tease podcast.
Everyone loves the tease. Stop.
Don't get too excited. She was like, I do doubles dances, like for couples. So, because she knew that me and Kai were together. And so I was like, Kai, do you want to get a doubles dance? Like, do you want to get a lap dance together? And Kai's like, yeah. And so we go to the back room. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tease podcast. It is so good to see you this Tuesday. I want to start this episode off by apologizing for there being no episode last week. I feel insanely guilty about that. I am actually recording this episode on that day, and so I want to first apologize and say that that was not part of the plan. I thought that I could push through, but I ended up working an event a lot longer than I thought. Like, I was supposed to be there for 4 hours and then record. I ended up spending 9 to 10 hours there, and my whole schedule just got out of whack, and I was already feeling like really tired and exhausted, but I thought that I could still do it, and then I just wasn't able to. I think that a part of it is that, like, I overestimate myself a little bit, which I take full accountability for. Like, I do need to realize that, like, there is no one helping me with this. Like, it's me that's posting, it's me that's editing, it's me that's recording. And so I will in the future be sure to plan it. That way, if we do miss a week, I can let y'all know a little bit further in advance. Yeah, I have just been feeling so, like, kind of like exhausted. I think that it's because I have been working. Like, as I've told y'all every fucking week, you're like, okay, Aleya, we get it, you're working. But it's been really paying off because we are officially looking at apartments in other cities now, and it is very, very possible that a move will be happening soon. So it's not like it hasn't been for good cause. And I am so excited about that. Not to mention, I'm sure the only one who's like really pissed at me about that is me. Like, I was talking to Kai about it, and Kai was like, Aleya, as a listener myself, no one's mad at you. No one cares. People will just listen to the episode they haven't listened to before, and it will all be okay. But you know how in your own head you like catastrophize everything? Like, you're like, everyone's mad at me. Everyone's pissed at me. Everyone realized I didn't do this. And then you just kind of have to take a step back and think, I don't think that anyone's like thinking about me that hard. And if they are, then it's okay. Then it's okay. Things will go on. The pod isn't over. Yeah, I was just feeling like really tired and exhausted. So I just like am taking the week to get everything together, get that content going good for you, because I would rather get that all together, have a good episode after, than like have a fucking shitty episode and y'all be like, Aleya, what the fuck is this? But yeah, that event that I worked, it was actually for a 70th birthday, which was so cute. It was for this older couple that was from the Philippines, and they have been together for like 45 years. And I always like gasp at relationships and love stories like that, because I'm like, how do you stay with someone that long? Like, I ideally would like to stay with Kai and hit that number. But I will say, even just being at like 3.5, close to 4 years, I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, I can't even imagine 40 years. Like, those people have been together twice as long as like I've been alive. I don't know. It's just so like crazy. I think it's because you don't hear that too often. Like, the last person that I know like that in my own family was like my great grandma. And I'm pretty sure like most of our parents are like either divorced or single. So like when you hear stories like that, you're like, wait, that is possible. So one, it was really inspiring and cute. Two, it was really cute because their daughters threw it for them. So while I'm working the event, I'm working it outside, I'm bartending, and it starts pouring rain, of course, because every time I try to do something nice, I get rained on. So I'm working the event. They're like doing this whole story where they all share parts, and they're saying how their parents had 3 little babies and they were in the military. They owned a restaurant, a grocery store, an engineering company, like this business, that business. And I was like, how the fuck does anyone have that much time in a day to raise children and have that many jobs? And then it made me feel guilty because I was like, I'm standing over here thinking about how fucking tired I am. and they did all of this. And then I wonder if that's where like the whole like hustle grind mentality comes from, is from like hearing stories of successful people. You either hear it as if like they started out with like a very like kind of like nepo rich upbringing that kind of like launched them to success, or you hear about the flip side where they were really poor, had nothing, so they like grinded. And I wonder if that's why like we think I need to work so fucking hard. Like I'm like, do I need to get another job? Do I need to do this? But then I'm like, I also don't have kids for like one of the reasons that I don't really like children that much, but also the fact that then you do have to work way harder when you have a kid because you have someone else alive. So like, am I slacking? Are we slacking? Are we supposed to be doing more? But then a part of me just wanted to go up to that couple and be like, hey guys, I just want to ask, like, would you do it again like that? Or were you like really fucking tired? Like, if you could choose between having 5 businesses and then having one business and getting to watch Netflix every night, which one would you choose? Because I personally like, I want to work hard in life and like that seems amazing, but like what's the point of working hard if you can't chill and watch Netflix at the end, or Hulu, or Real Housewives? Like if you told me you're gonna have to give up reality TV, I just like, I feel like life's about balance, and I don't know if that's like a very good example of like balancing and doing it that way. Anywho, other than that, before that, I was in Portland this week. Your girl is traveling, jet setting. It's only 2 hours away from me. But I went to Portland, which is in Oregon, so it's another state off my bucket list. Woo woo. And we went there because our friends recently moved there. And it's really crazy because like these are some of the last friends that we met in Seattle, but like they're the ones that we're going to visit in another state. Isn't it so weird how that works out? Like you hear about people where you've been friends for like way less than other ones, and you're like, but we're already fully like full sending it. And like this is not one of the lesbian U-Haul friendships. This is a straight couple. So we are just locked in. It must be like some sort of like cosmic connection. I don't know. Let's see how they're probably listening to this and being like, yeah, she's never coming back. Anywho, we went to Portland. I think that Portland is what Seattle thinks it is. Like Seattle has this reputation of being like the super fun, left-leaning, very gay-friendly, minority-friendly epicenter with a lot of parties going on, events, and it just all around being like this kind of like, it would be like Gen Z lore type of city. You know what I mean? Or millennial lore type of city. Like you can explore whatever you want, and like that's okay. And the people are going to be cool. You know what I mean? I think that was stolen from Portland. I think that Seattle is, what would you call it? Seattle is like the follower of Portland. Seattle is the girl is trying to steal their identity. Seattle is giving, let me just copy everything you do, become you, and then do it better, but like not better. You know what I mean? You know when someone copies a small business, but they're already big so that they blow up? That's Seattle to Portland. It's like its evil little sister. Portland is very cool. Like, I was like, oh my God, am I even cool enough to be here? First of all, if you have any sexuality that like leans outside of the grain from straight, if you got some fruit in your salad, you would love Portland. You could consider moving to Portland. I swear I saw more lesbians than straight people. Like me and Kai, we have this thing. I don't know if other people do it. I think everyone who's either a minority, whether it's racially or sexually, does this where you're like, you're in a place where you don't think there's a lot of you and you go, oh, look. Like me and Kai will be like, look, a lesbian. Look, another lesbian. Look, a lesbian over there. Like even with my family, when we go to like a predominantly white or non-black area, which is like 90% of America, we're like walking around and we're like, look, a black person. Like, look, a black person right there. If you're listening to this episode for the first time, I am black and I am gay. So like, I'm not saying it like, look right there. But yeah, it was just really queer coded, but like in an amazing way. It just had this vibe of like no one gives a fuck, not to mention the vintage shops that we went to. Absolutely insane. Like they are at the price point that things should be at. And they have the coolest things. I got like this really cute denim fur jacket. I got a Playboy magazine that I've been searching for. And I know that there's like controversy or whatever around Playboy, but I used to watch the Girls Next Door show and I had been wanting that magazine. It resells now for $100 or more because everything that was ever cool back in the day is now expensive as fuck. But I got it for $10. $10 in perfect condition. Fuck with me. And it was just like really cool because the people, since there's so many vintage stores, were all decked out in the coolest vintage outfits. Like the TikTok vintage jorts and all that stuff that you see, like these people were executing it flawlessly. Not to mention the nightlife scene. So we arrived in Portland. We arrived there like when it was like kind of gloomy. So at first we were kind of like, what? Where are we? Like this shit looks whack. Honestly, I think it's like everywhere. If you give it the wrong lighting, it won't look good. Like if you put me in gray lighting, it won't look good. Put me in gold lighting, you know? And so we were kind of like judging the book by its cover. And we are like, I don't know if I like this girl Portland. But we ended up staying longer. It got sunny and it was such a vibe. We went to like 3 different clubs on a Wednesday. We went to a little speakeasy type of bar and we're all sitting in like these cool yellow vibey couches. They have an 80s Playboy mag and we're like looking through it. And then the guy who's the bartender literally comes in and is like, don't mind me, I'm just trying to keep the vibes good, and proceeds to stage the entire room with Palo Santo. What other place do you know where they are staging their bars? Like, fuck security, get some stage. That is the type of club that I want to be in. And call me, what's the thing where you just like take on things? I don't know if it's like asymptomatic. Those people where they hear a problem or they hear a solution, they're like, I feel it. You know what I mean? I'm one of those people. So I instantly felt the good vibes after he saged it. Like, how many times do you see sage in a club? So we go there, we do a photo booth, although we never got the photo booth. So I don't know if there's like some weird FBI agent just collected people's photos and like in the back room, you know what I'm saying? But who knows? That's where my mind goes. It's like dark as fuck. I should not say. We went to a bunch of clubs. It was popping on a Wednesday, which was crazy. They were having like house music DJs. And like, I kid you not, I had more fun on a Wednesday in Portland than like a Friday in Seattle. Like I woke up on Thursday violently hungover. But I actually think I was the least hungover compared to everyone else. Everyone else was struggling way more than I was. And it was just so much fun that I just decided, let me just get rid of my shift on Friday. And we ended up staying that long. And the drinks are really good. It's just so much cheaper too. Like, guys, when you're a kid, you don't realize that price of living, like dead ass means price of living. Am I the only one to just discover that? But like, first of all, price of living, fucked up sentence. Second of all, like, it will drain your pockets if you live in a place that you can't afford. I'm speaking from experience. I think that the reason why people were able to have so much fun too, especially like at our age, because in Seattle, you really don't see a lot of people in their 20s out as much in comparison. I think it's because people can't afford to go out here. Like, people are working or they're staying in because it's so expensive. But it was overall just a vibe. And I actually was barely on my phone this entire trip. Like, I didn't even have an Instagram post to post after the trip, which you may think that's normal. But for me, like, I'm the type to where if I'm going to any sort of event that I put thought into, I'm getting fucking pictures. I don't care who I have to step on. Like, pictures are happening. I barely went on my phone for this one. I barely went on social media. Like, I feel like I have been off the grid, even though maybe since I did schedule posts, it may not seem like I was off the grid. I feel off the grid. And I'm not going to lie, I felt really guilty about not having as much content that I would like and not being as active as I would like, because people are always telling you if you want to make it in the digital world, you take 1 week off and you're like fucked, like you're done after that. You know what I mean? But is it really healthy to live like that? Like, is it really healthy to be on our phone so much? Like, even Kai was like, I have barely been on my phone. I've been having so much fun. And it gives like this weird juxtaposition because you feel like, okay, if I document everything that happens in my life, these memories will last forever and I will never have to miss it too hard because I can look back at it. But you may be kind of like missing out on the actual experience, or you may be morphing the actual experience. Like the amount of times where I'm like, everyone just pause everything that we're doing and let's get pictures. So that takes away like 30 minutes of the actual experience. And now you have to get the vibe back going. Is that actually better than on the flip side? You don't record, you don't go on your phone too much, but you soak up every single moment in person. But when you look back, you may not have as many memories to look back at it with because you didn't get as much digital evidence. It's like that thing where it says pics. Oh, wait, here we go. Pics or it didn't happen. Is that accurate? Is it pics or it didn't happen actually true? Because a part of me feels like I'll get pics, but it kind of feels like it didn't happen because I wasn't all the way there. But then if I don't have pics for the memories, did it happen? Like, man, which way is the best way to go? Is it better to document everything while kind of missing out in the moment? Or is it better to live in the moment, but you may not document everything? This is a good question. Honestly, as someone who is obsessed with documenting, I would personally like to live in a world where I have a good balance of both. Like, I would like pictures to just authentically be a part of the experience. That's kind of like what I would prefer. But I do have to say, not being on my phone, I think like grounded me. I felt like my self-esteem went a little bit up. My comparison levels went a little down. And honestly, I have barely even been on socials ever since then. And it's only been a couple of days. It's been like 5 days, not a lot. But it has been pretty good for me because I feel like I'm like living this off the grid lifestyle. Says that with a camera in their face recording a fucking podcast. But for Aleya Antoine, this does feel a little off the grid. You know what I mean? But yeah, I feel kind of like an old school bitch. And I think that this is like very vintage. It's Y2K. I think it's also because we are planning on moving. And here's the thing, guys. I'm going to keep it so 100 with y'all. I live outside of the like city of Seattle radius. First of all, how I told you how it's expensive. Second of all, it rains. It's really hard to like have a consecutively active, engaging, interesting lifestyle. Like it's so hard to do here. So my thought process is maybe I have to be off of socials for a little bit, but then I get to work more and then I get to move and then I'll like achieve that balance. I hope I don't sound like one of those people where I'm like, this will happen and then my life will be perfect, because I'm not saying that will be perfect. I just think it will be like way better. Like I can't wait for y'all to see, because once we end up moving, there will be so much podcast content. There will be so much social content, but then it will be authentic because it won't be pausing it. So maybe the trick is that you just sometimes have to sacrifice for a period in your life so that way you can keep flowing through the rest of it. Like, think about it in college. You're sacrificing 4 fucking years where you could be out, you could be hot, you could be having fun, but you're getting an education. That way you feel better about yourself as an adult, and I guess you get more jobs or whatever. I don't know. This was like such a rant that I don't know if it made sense, but I have been battling the fact, because I feel like people our age, like, I know that there's some of y'all who probably don't use socials at all and it's not important to you, but then there's the other side of our age group that use it all the time, whether it's as a consumer or as a creator, and you don't know really how to like balance whether or not you should. Like, yeah, so I was off the grid for a little bit. I plan on still keeping up with the podcast. Obviously, my personal account's probably gonna like not take a break, but I'm going to do everything that I can to like be in a better place where like I like everything that I put out, because like I'm one of those people where like I can't half-ass things. Like I just can't. Like I want everything that I put out to be something that I could look back on in a couple months and be okay with, because right now I've been looking back at some of the shit I posted and I need to go on a deleting spree. I have been looking at some of my old shit and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I don't like this. But yeah, I just feel like this all goes back to like the feeling guilty and having this pressures. I feel like just this age is like difficult because like, at least when you're older, you can say that like you're kind of already settled and you're in your ways and you know what to do. But like, it just feels like so like fed to the wolves coded. Like that's what 22 feels like. It's like fed to the wolves. 21, I felt like was make all your decisions and do whatever you possibly can to wreck your life, but somehow make it out on the other side. And 22 feels like it's all on you now. Like, bitch, like if you're calling your parents, it's not for help, it's just to talk. Like you're on your own, sweetie, all by myself. Oh my God, speaking of fed to the wolves and on your own, I have a very funny story that happened in Portland. So let me start it this way. You're gonna know exactly where I'm going with it. I was not aware of how to use a bidet before. My friends have a bidet, and normally, like, I'm a wet wipes type of person. You know what I mean? I'm not going to get into that because I don't like talking, like, bathroom talk. But I saw a bidet on my friend's thing, and I was like, this is so cool. I've heard about these things. They're, like, French or whatever. I want to, like, be part of the bidet community. Like, my last name is Antoine. It's in French, but, like, I've never tried one, you know? So am I really myself if I've never experienced it, you know? And they had a pink one, so it was like, oh my God, it practically has Aleya written all over it. But like any other person, I had way too much pride to be asking them, hey, I want to use your bidet, how do you use it? You know what I mean? Is it okay to use other people's bidets now that I'm thinking about it? Like, I think so, because it's not like you like are touching it directly, right? Yeah. And I put on self-cleaning before. Anywho, I was looking at it and I was like, okay, I want to try this, but I have way too much pride to ask anyone how to do it. So I literally looked up the item code that they had on there, put it in on Google, put it on Amazon, went to the Amazon videos and watched a whole instruction manual on how to do it. Either that's OCD, pride, or something else. I don't know. But I looked it all up because I was like, I'm not fucking asking anyone. I turned on the thing like I saw in the video, but I was like, I'm just going to turn it on very lightly because I want to see how it works. I did this while I was standing up. The motherfucker shoots all over me. Like my whole pants, everything is covered in bidet water. So I don't know if there's been enough discourse about this in the US, because I don't know if they're big in the US. I don't think that they are. I think that they're like trying to make a comeback in the US. But I just want to warn everyone that you should sit down. If you're thinking about using a bidet, be very careful. They are scary and they have a mind of their own, and I don't know how I feel about them right now. But yeah, it was just very embarrassing. My friends were like, Aleya, like, are you good? You look like something happened. And I just started the sentence off with, well, I saw y'all had a bidet. And everyone kind of like caught my drift. And yeah, it was funny. Another thing that we did in Portland that was a lot of fun was Portland is known for their strip clubs. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. I did not know that. I think Portland is called Slub City. Not that strip clubs are slubs, but like it basically like embraces like taboo things is I think Portland's like motto. So our friends, after our hiatus on Wednesday, we were like, okay, we are still lit. Where should we go? We're like, a strip club, obviously, because in Seattle, the strip clubs are like very like regulated or whatever. But in Portland, like there's a bar at the strip clubs. They do full nudity. So we're like, let's go. Because I have been to a strip club before. I have been to strip clubs in Texas. It was when I worked at Hooters, like me and my friends would go with like our regulars. And, you know, there's nothing more fun if you're girly and you want to go to a strip club. I recommend going with a guy where you could throw his money. It just works out better for everyone. You could pocket like $5 and give the rest. But when we did go in Texas, one of my friends, she was hooking up with one of the girls. And I feel bad for the girl. She kept missing her stage show because of it. But we saw the strip clubs and Kai had never been to a strip club before. So I was like, we have to go. We go in, we get our drinks, and it's super cute. It's like a smaller one. Like there's only one little stage, and like the girls were really pretty and I really liked their outfits. The guys are so fucking ugly that were there. Like, I'm sorry, but like, I see why they're at a strip club on the Wednesday. Like, I see why they needed money to do whatever they wanted to do because, woo! And let me tell you, you know how on TikTok we all were seeing strippers go viral and they were doing their money count about how they make this much money and they're like, come to work with me as a dollar tripper and everything. So all the girlies were like, you know what? If things go south, I'm going to be a stripper. I can do it. I can flirt with men. I can get the money. After being in one that's like a little bit more like strip club-esque, I could never be a stripper. I could never be a stripper. And that is purely because I could not make men feel good about themselves. Like, I couldn't do it. Like, I could not pretend to be interested in what they had to say. Like, technically, yes, I do that at work, and I've done it at Hooters. I've done it at Twin Peaks. Like, we literally had bikini days at Twins, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, like, I still feel like it was a little different than, like, completely boosting their ego, you know what I mean? And I feel like part of making money and, like, being a good stripper, sex worker is making your customers feel wanted, needed. It could completely be a facade and a lie, you know what I mean? But that's just the experience that you're putting out, and like, I just don't think that I would be capable of that. Like, me and Kai were talking the other day and I was like, thank God I'm not straight, because I would be the worst straight girlfriend. I was listening to a podcast and they were like, when you have a boyfriend, like, you have to make sure to like talk to him gently about this and you don't want to bruise his ego and stuff. Like, I would literally be so cynical and talk to them about stuff because it's going to bruise their ego. However, I do want to take a pole dancing class because I do want to learn the moves. My old roommate had a pole in our townhouse and I could actually go upside down on it. Anywho, back to the story. We're at the strip club. It's really fun. We're throwing dollars. And I'm like, oh, this is cute. This is fun. And then we're like, okay, maybe it's time to go home. So we go to like the back of the club to finish our drinks. And one of the girls comes over and she's talking to us, and she had to be queer coded for sure. She had dark hair, bleached eyebrows, like she was. And she was very cute. And she was talking to me and Kai back and forth, and we were both like, you're so cute. Like, oh my God. You know, and she's like, thanks, girl. And I was like, what's your Venmo so I can tip you? And like, not for anything, I honestly, I am like such a trick, I think, when it comes to like girls working, because one, since I'm still bartending, I'm like, every tip I give is just gonna find its way back to me. I believe in tip karma. But also I'm like, oh my God, girl, like, I know how hard this is. I want to give you money because I know how hard this is, you know? And she's like, well, no, like, don't tip me, just get a dance. And I'm like, oh, a dance. Oh, okay. And I have never gone to dance before. Like, guys, even though I've been to strip clubs before, I've only like seen the like stage stuff. I've never gone to dance. So I was like, oh, okay. Maybe I did one time. If I did, like, I don't really remember. And so I was like, oh, okay. And she was like, I do doubles dances, like, for couples. So, because she knew that me and Kai were together. And so I was like, Kai, do you want to get a doubles dance? Like, do you want to get a lap dance together? And Kai's like, yeah. And so we go to the back room, and Kai was so cute. Like, they looked so nervous. And it was so fun. It was so cool. Homegirl dragged her titties on my face. Like, I was like, okay, I don't know what to do. I am just going to sit here like this, you know? And it was honestly really fun. I don't know why couples like don't like going to strip clubs together. Like, I feel like it shouldn't be an everyday thing. It shouldn't be an every week thing. It probably shouldn't even be an every month thing. But I think that it is something that like shouldn't be knocked out completely. Like, but I think that part of it is that there's a huge misplaced stigma around like sex work, strip clubs, when the stigma really just needs to be on the men and customers who go. Like, just because a girl works at a certain place doesn't mean that she's going to come for your man. You know what I mean? She's not there for your man. She's there for money. But the guy is there for her. So I think that the stigma of it is completely misplaced, and it's like not an inherently bad thing to enjoy those type of like either restaurants like Hooters or Twin Peaks or strip clubs and that kind of stuff. Like, I don't think that the responsibility of the stigma should be on the girls who are working there. You know what I mean? Honestly, this just like leads me to like this thought that I've been having lately, because the other day at work, I had this couple, and like from the jump, I knew like this is not going to go well. Like, as soon as I greeted the table, the girl was pissed that I was there. Like, would not make eye contact with me, was giving me dirty looks, did not want to order. Everything's fine, but then I see her whispering to her boyfriend, and they're like, hey, my steak is cold. And I'm like, okay, it's really cold, because I kid you not, the kitchen handed it to me like right off the grill. So I was like, what? I knew that she was just complaining for no reason, because she ate half of it too. And they remake it. I'm like, don't worry, it's coming out. And the guy tries to act all tough guy, and he's like, I'm gonna talk to your manager. So I'm like, okay, chill out. And I just scream, hey, can he get over here? My manager talks to him, and the guy's like, this is cold. Like, just trying to cause problems, you know what I mean, and complaining. And I was right. Like, it did not go well. And I do think that part of the reason it didn't go well was because of that relationship dynamic and me being a girl serving them. It's like this instant competitiveness or whatever. Like, even when I worked at Hooters, Twin Peaks, like, you would think that it's all like men coming, or maybe like gay women coming. Like, no, there's a lot of couples and a lot of families who go here. But it was really hard to deal with those types of tables, because I felt like if I talk to this couple at all, if I stare at the guy just a little bit too long, like, it's my ass. You know what I mean? And I kid you not, like, I am gay, and like half the age of like these couples, like a lot of them were twice my age. Like, I could have been their daughter, you know what I mean? And there's like this weird like competition or whatever, like as if I'm trying to get your ugly ass man. Like, no, I'm not. But it did make me think, is like, I don't even want to put all the responsibility on the jealous girlfriends or whatever, because I think that it really is just like a thing as a whole, to where people get in relationships and act like they have no home training in public places, and they start seeing every single person as a threat to their relationship, and that in turn makes them like extremely rude people. Like, have you ever had the friend to where they get in a relationship but you're not friends anymore because they're super mean to you now when their girlfriend or boyfriend's around, because a girlfriend or boyfriend feels threatened, or they don't talk to you as much, or they're like, hey, like, you can't come over because he'll be here. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's just this huge societal thing to where people are in relationships and they are mad at everyone else in the world for simply just existing. Like, the amount of couples that probably would have lost their fucking mind at the strip club if they were offered a doubles dance. And yes, that girl's job is to offer that stuff, but people are still mad at that. You know what I mean? Like, I have to ask this man what he wants to drink. It's not my choice. I don't care about him. It's my job to give you your restaurant order, to make your drinks and bring it to you. But for some reason, I'm in trouble for that. And it's happened with friends too. Like, I literally had a friend to where she was like, hey, when my boyfriend's around, you can't be around because I don't want him looking at you. You know what I mean? And it's weird. Like, it's so weird. And I want to know how we can work around it, because here's the thing. Like, if you are one of those people who gets like insanely mad at other people just for being in the vicinity of their partner, one, work on yourself. But I also know that it's not your complete fault. Like, I'm sure there are so many things happening in your relationship that maybe are making you insecure. They're making you actually threatened. Maybe you got cheated on. And so now you really do see everyone as a threat. Maybe someone has actually flirted with your partner. And guys are the same way, if not worse. Like guys have, I mean, when guys are insecure or jealous and stuff, I mean, they downright act sociopathic. I mean, look at The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives when Jen was at the Chippendale show and her husband is like cussing her out on the phone just for simply being there. Like there's so much insecurities that people carry in their relationships that ends up making its way to just like the general public. And my question is like, what do we do about this? Like, I'm sorry, but what do we do about this? Because it has to stop. Because think about how many friendships and relationships would be saved if we like stopped like the competitive nature. Like, first of all, like with me and Kai, I think that the reason why we're able to do these sorts of things is because like our level of like communication, obviously, like we know like this is not anything weird. We're just going to dance or whatever. But I think that it's also because we have had a huge jealousy patch. Like, I think it was last fall or winter, we had like this insane jealousy patch. Like it was like one conversation and we're like, who are you talking to? Who are you following? Let me see your Instagram thing. You know what I mean? And I would say like for me personally, what brought that out would be probably insecurities. You know what I mean? It honestly was like for both of us, I think personal insecurities. I think that we both had finally become adults. Like we got together when we were 18. Now we're adults and we're like, wait, we both like could have whoever, whatever we want. And I think that like that caused it a little bit. So like working on your own personal relationship with yourself. Because I will say is that like despite that jealousy streak, you know what I mean, which was brought on for a lot of reasons, like even outside of that, like we had friends who probably didn't want to see our relationship thrive at the moment, you know, which had a lot to do with it. But I think that one of the ways to the other side of not being like that is to, one, actually recognize who is actually a quote unquote threat to your relationship, because it's not your server, it's not your bartender. Like, you know when someone actually is, you know what I mean? And even then, no one should be a serious threat to your relationship if your relationship is strong and healthy. And if you feel like you can't even go with your boyfriend to a restaurant or to a strip club, like I do feel like you need to question, why is that? Look inward and think, why am I mad if this girl server is taking my man's drink? And for men, I think that they need to think, why am I so mad that she has a friend who's a guy? Why am I so mad that she went to maybe a male strip show? I've seen guys get mad just because another guy likes their girl's pictures. I mean, a lot of women in relationships can't even wear what they want because their man or whatever will shame them and be like, if you're wearing that, you must want to act like you're single. Like, where is all this misplaced jealousy and toxicity coming from? Because I think that one thing that we all need to realize is that like it's not just an in the house battle. Relationships like this affect every single person. It probably is affecting your friendships, your relationships, your kids. Like, it affects everyone. And I think that part of it is like this huge, like, I've seen so many places be like loving the toxic, and we all love the toxic. It's so fun. But I can tell you, as someone in the, like, as a service worker, watching the toxic happen is like so cringy and so ugly. They're like, I'm like, why would you want this for yourself? Like, release yourself, free yourself. Find someone to where you don't have to track their location. Find somewhere where you don't have to go through their Instagram followers. And like, I am so aware of how hard it is to find people that are good people and people that you could actually form a genuinely loving relationship with. Like, I know that that's really difficult, but I mean, personally, if I wasn't with Kai and I couldn't find someone who just like gave me a stress-free life, I would personally just be single. Like, I don't know why people act like being single is like that bad. At least like you don't have someone making you shiver in your boots every time someone of the opposite or same gender talks to you. You know what I mean? And so I just feel like that whole experience really prompted me to like really think about like, why are people like this? Why does this happen? And I think that it really does just like stem from insecurities, whether it's with yourself, whether it's trust issues with your partner. But I do think that the main thing is just like you need to address it. Like, I obviously don't have the end all be all. Like, this is not me trying to say what to do to get out of those type of relationships, because I don't really know, and I will own that. But I do think that addressing it and not being like, oh, this is normal, like saying that it's normal is just making the problem worse, and it's making you not find a solution. I do think that like doing something proactive about it is best. Like when we were in that rut that me and Kai had, we immediately went to therapy. Like we were like, we cannot live like this. That is like, that was around our breakup time. That was when we started couples therapy. We were very proactive about it. And I'm glad that we didn't become those cynical people who end up just being randomly mean or mad to strangers because we're having problems in our own relationship. And I even saw a study that said that relationship problems will directly affect your entire fucking life. It will affect how you work with others. It will affect your relationships. It will affect your relationship with your family. Like, it's not something that is isolated and you can keep it that way and it won't affect any other area in your life. So if you're in a relationship like that, I am begging and pleading for you and for the general public, like, just address it. And yes, I know that there are relationships to where it's not that simple and you do have to do more. Like, there are really toxic relationships. There's domestic violence. There's abusive relationships. And those require a whole different blueprint. But I'm talking like just like your standard toxic couple type of dynamic, that there really is a very viable out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not talking about like the other side of that. But I do think that it is very important to like look inwards, address that, and think, why am I feeling this way? Is it actually even my relationship's that problem? Or do I just need to work on myself? You know what I mean? Because that's what me and Kai had to do, and it really helped. And it's really helped me like now live really stress-free. Like, I can go to work, Kai can go to work, and if we don't text each other till 2 p.m., like, I'm not tripping about it. I'm not automatically going to catastrophizing worst case scenario, what's going on, what are they doing, what's going on behind my back. Like, I'm not thinking like that. And if something was happening that was shady or maybe wrong to me, like, I do trust that like everything comes out and you will find out. It doesn't even take like investigative work. Like, how many times you know girls who stalk up and down, but half of the time the answer just comes right in front of them. Like, you really don't have to put that much effort into finding out the truth, because the truth will always find you. So there's really no point in like driving yourself crazy and driving everyone else around you crazy because there's something going on with either you or just your relationship. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think that's just something that we all could benefit from, because I literally got like a DM. It was like a month ago, honestly. It wasn't for a podcast, just a personal one, but it was just saying how this girl, she saw a relationship, it was like, yo, I have such a great relationship. I can't find one where I'm not like looking over my shoulder and all that stuff. Well, then just take a break and be single for a little bit. You know what I mean? But yeah, I just think that every single couple should get a lap dance, should do something crazy, something spicy, something fun. And if you can't, and that's just your drift, that's completely fine. But if you can't because someone will absolutely go psychotic, then I would think twice a little bit about it. But that is all that I have for you guys today. It was so amazing being back with y'all. I want to do a questions episode. I'm going to be so upfront. I want to do a questions episode. Please write in questions, write in your stories, write in your advice. I have a link on every episode, a link in the bio on the Instagram at Tease Pod, at Tease Podcast, on all other platforms. And please be sure to follow, subscribe, and rate and review on Spotify and Apple 5 stars. And I will, in fact, be seeing you next Tease Tuesday. I love you guys. And lap dances for all. And make sure to tip your bartender, your server, and all sex workers. I love you guys. Bye.